Hello, welcome to my title side chats. I start this off again by saying I haven't made one of these in a while. It is Thursday, May 7th. I always have to question myself because it's early in the morning and I'm not quite sure what day it is yet. But it is. I think I'm correct. Thursday, May 7th, yes. It says so on my Apple Watch. Thanks, by the way, Dad. Just so you know, so Kaya tried this out for a while. I know you sent it to her for her birthday. She wasn't really into it, but what it did is I took part of the birthday present you gave me because I hadn't spent it yet, and she needed another ukulele since her ukulele that she had was lost in the fire a year and a half ago, over that. 20 some months ago. So I was thinking, you know what, that'd be nice. I kind of want to get her another one. So I used that towards getting her a ukulele. So essentially you got her a ukulele for her birthday. So thank you. It worked out. We made it work. And I've been using the Apple Watch here for a couple weeks. It's nice. There's pros and cons to it compared to the Fitbit. I have yet to replace the battery still. I've been laxing on that. I gotta get the battery replaced. But it's been doable. That was one of my biggest holdoffs for the longest time of why I didn't want to get an Apple Watch. It's like, oh man, I don't want to have to like charge it every day. It's like, well, it's actually not that big a deal. So Danielle has an Apple Watch now too. So we have a charger at home and then I leave a charger at work at my desk. And if it's getting low, I can just pop it on there for an hour or whatever, and it's not that big a deal. I have that, and then I also have an Aura ring that I just got like a week ago. I'm not just talking to my dad here, but if you hadn't heard, I've been working on an app for Android and iPhone called healthcheckin. That I started back in around November, using AI to help me do coding, and it's been a very enlightening process. I have to say I'm not learning too much about code. I'm trying, but for an IT guy who's been doing IT stuff for 25 years, I've never been a programmer. I did take Visual Basic in college. I took 2 semesters of VB back in 2000, 2001, and I aced both of those classes. That was fine. It was easy, but it wasn't what I was interested in, and so I never really got into it. And mind you, I've done like PowerShell scripts and things like that over the years here and there, because those are definitely beneficial as a network administrator, but never hardcore like into coding. Anyway, so I started making this app, but it is helpful. I guess like not anybody could just do that, or it is helpful coming from an IT background because like I know how the app should, or like I had an idea first of all how the app should function and the idea for it, but then also like a lot of the back-end stuff that has to get set up. Just getting the software development environment in place on your computer, and then understanding hosting for and doing file transfers, and then setting up different accounts in various places, and understanding doing builds and interconnecting accounts, and then approval processes. There's just like a lot of stuff on the back end, which I did not expect in order to like not only just like have the code written for an app, but to get it, all the steps that need to take place in order to like publish it on the App Store, which I'm not at the point where it's public, but before you even do that, you have to have an Apple developer account, which is $99 a year, and then you set up your developer account environment, and like you go through this thing called test flight, where you can upload and go through the steps to have beta versions of your app approved, and then every time you do a new build, it gets uploaded to test flight, and then you can assign that to users. If you have people who want to beta test your app, they sign up for that, and then you enter their email addresses there. So there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it that, again, like I said, it's been a very enlightening process. Remind all the equipment that's sloshing around the back of the car. I've got some battery backups that are dead there. No, I'm gonna beat you. Don't worry. I'm not a slowpoke. So at this point, I've got a few different people testing out my app. The feedback I've gotten so far, which has been, I've only had a couple people actually give me some feedback, just on the initial setup, feel of it, has been positive. The question is whether or not long term, because how beneficial it is as a tool. The idea was that, for me, because I started developing it for me, I needed a good way, one, for someone who's very distracted and busy, call it ADHD or not, whatever, to a certain extent, everyone in our society has ADHD just because we have so much stuff thrown at us all the time. But the point was, I want something where I have all these other health apps, with the Apple Health and Fitbit and Oura Ring, and then there's a myriad of different health apps on the App Store and the Google Play Store, where you track calories and exercise, and you can put goals in, and connects to your fitness tracker, and it says, here is your sleep score and different metrics, and you're doing great. And it's you can have all that, but all right, well, this says I'm doing great, but I don't feel great today. Why don't I feel great? And well, if I'm going to track everything, I was using OneNote for a while to try to take notes, and then have different daily entries, and I tried different ways to log things, and because you kind of have to log your journey and experimenting with different supplements and exercise routines and nutrition, medications, sleep habits, all sorts of things. And I wanted a real simple way to just at least once a day, and I wanted to go back. Actually, that was kind of what my epiphany moment was with how I've been feeling, or the issues I've been having for the past 4 or 5 years. I was I wonder, do I feel better or worse in general during different seasons of the year? Is it just during the during the winter months, I feel great, and then when the spring hits, and then there's allergies and the air quality changes, and so in general, if I were to look at how I was reporting I felt over the course of a year, and I could see that on a graph, would I see, in the spring months that dips down, and then in the summer months it kind of comes up a little bit steady, and the fall hits, and I'm feeling better in general. What are the trends? And then and if there are trends, what does that say about my environment, my diet, sleep habits, the amount of sunlight outside? There could be a number of things that you can infer from that. So that was kind of, I was well, if I had a way to track that, and I was wait, we have AI now, it could help me write an app, and so I started doing that. And I was just I want something every day where I can just say, because I would tell Danielle that, how you feel today? I'm I feel 65%, not great, I could be a lot better, and I can't remember the last time I felt 90%, or it's like every once in a couple of weeks I wake up and I feel energetic and sharp as a tack and clear and motivated, and that's like a 95% day or 100% day. But those are few and far between, and like I want to figure out, notate those days where I feel that great, and then be like, okay, what did I do the day before, so that or the week before, so that I felt that way. So that's what the point of this app is, and I try to make it as simple as possible. And to get back to my ADHD comment, and to take like the least amount of time to just check in. So you get set multiple times a day where it just pops up a notification. It says, hey, time to check in. And at a bare minimum, you just hit the notification and say, I feel like 75%, and it's safe. So there's something, but the more input that you can put in there, the better. You say, I feel 75%, but I didn't. I had lasagna for dinner last night, I tried this new supplement. I started taking boron supplements, and I think maybe that's making me tired or whatever. Where I did this last time, and it made me feel different, or there were different circumstances or whatever. And then I also had the thought, was like, well, how hard would it be to, along with those check-ins, also just automatically tie into your Oura Ring app, your Apple Health, or your Fitbit app, or coming soon, Garmin, Samsung Health, I think it's called Samsung Health, which I've got to experiment with that too. Hopefully that should be able to lightweight lift. Then tie in so that with your check-ins, it also shows them, by the way, like you don't have to put it in, it just pulls the data from the app. So you can see on that day, I had a sleep score of 93, and the previous day I did 12,000 steps. So because I found for myself that's a major factor too, that if one of my issues is overexerting myself, and so I've noticed, like on days where I do 16,000 steps, the next day I'm kind of down in the dumps. And I've learned after all of this that when I do that on those follow-up days, like I need to eat extra protein in the morning, I may need to take an extra drop or two of B12, and so it's kind of helped me improve. And hopefully what you see over time, with the more you put entries in, is when you go back and look at your trends, is that you start realizing what improvements you need to make, and you start integrating those into your habits, and your averages and your trends will start to go up from, in my case, like the 70s to 80s, and it'll show you in the chart, over, you can, have a 7-day, 30-day, 90-day, 180, 1 year view, and it'll show your averages, lowest score, highest scores, etc. And then you can scroll through that with your thumb and down to each day and see, on each specific point, what scores you had that day. And then you can go back and look at your history of your entries and analyze those, and gather information from those. And then, like, I'm trying to work with my nutritionist. She's been really busy, but I've been seeing a nutritionist for a little over a year, and I mentioned this to her, that I was making this app, and she was like, "Oh, really? I actually have, for all my patients, I'd be really interested to try this out and see if it's something that people could use, and if they could like use that and log their entries and then just export it to a spreadsheet or a PDF or something, and they could give that to me and I could review what they've been doing. Like, that might be helpful." And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll add that feature. So I did. I worked on a couple of days and getting that working and testing it out. And again, I was able to get that working. But she's been, and so that was just like a week ago. She's been really busy, so I'm trying to find. I'm trying to. She's always overloaded with client appointments and reviewing. She does a lot of intricate, detailed work for each of her clients, including me, including like blood test analysis and all sorts of other stuff. And then she writes up big long reports with a lot of detail and care. So I messaged her again today to see. I told her, I was like, oh, look, I'll even pay you for your time if you could just install the app and run through it. So I'm trying to get her signed up as one of my beta testers, and then I want to look for some other health, I'm gonna say influencers, but that was one idea that I had, was like reaching out potentially to any like doctors or any health influencers, nutritionalists that are like on YouTube, like have a YouTube channel and be willing to review it. Again, not primarily just to promote the app, but secondarily, or I mean, that would be nice too if they do like it, but to give me some feedback on what their thoughts are, and if need be, I can make changes or improvements. And ultimately, if they could promote it, because I do want to. I'm going to be listing this on the App Store and selling copies. I'm not going to be charging an astronomical amount for it, but it would be nice if it could be successful. So, anyways, I am just pulling up to work now, and I meant to talk about other things besides just my app, but I guess I need to go back and make my own presentation based off of this at some point. Ta-ta for now. Have a great Thursday, everyone. Off to work we go. Hi-ho, hi-ho.